Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Not only is this the long-awaited sequel to Doctor Strange and another Marvel movie, it is also the first time Sam Raimi has directed a new movie in like 10 years or something, like 9 years. It's been a while. Although he did direct episodes of the Evil Dead TV show, he hadn't directed a movie in a while. And his return to superhero movies since the Spider-Man films and Marvel films and all that stuff. And that was what was exciting to me as a person who, before Spider-Man came out, was like, I can't believe the Evil Dead guy is getting to do Spider-Man. A big director. I don't love every single one of his films, but he has a pretty damn good filmography of a lot of classics. And I was excited for him to do an actual MCU movie, not, the movie that kind of started the whole thing off and, all that stuff. And he's also the first of kind of the pre-MCU directors to kind of come into the MCU. You don't see Richard Donner, Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher. A lot of these guys are dead. Bryan Singer, but a bunch of those guys coming into the MCU. So it was interesting to see someone before come into now and what they could do with it. I think Sam Raimi is a really interesting director, and he is kind of the star of the show with this film. This movie is supposed to basically be this crazy multiverse movie, and because of what happened in the events of WandaVision with Elizabeth Olsen, basically what happened is there's a teenager who has the power to make a portal through multiverses. Doctor Strange finds this teenager and then thinks that there's someone looking for her in this dimension. He finds out that it's Scarlet Witch. These are not really spoilers, by the way. Doctor Strange finds out Scarlet Witch is after this teenager who is America Chavez and is trying to protect her, but that doesn't really work out as they attack, the various kind of sorcerers, and they try to defend her, but then they kind of go through hopping through the multiverse, and hopefully she can't find them because she wants to go through the multiverse and find her kids who are imaginary from WandaVision. She thinks there's a universe where they exist, and she wants to either take them or take over the possession of her in that multiverse, thus sort of causing the same thing but worse to some other woman. But that's the plot. She wants to do that. Now, I want to be real honest about something. I'm not the biggest WandaVision fan, and I don't really give a fuck about her stupid imaginary kids. That's not why I wanted to see this movie, and I don't think that plotline is done particularly well in this movie. It's kind of a nothing burger of a plotline, because you can tell that Sam Raimi isn't even into it, because they're flash cutting to where these kids are is basically them watching TV and her making food for them. And it occurred to me while I was watching this that, in Into the Spider-Verse, I don't really know Kingpin's family. I see just a picture of him with his kid and his wife. That's pretty relatable, because everyone has a picture of their family. And you can look at that and you go, oh yeah, no, when I look at a picture of my family and I'm away from them, I think of how I would want to be with them. Pretty easy visual communication there. Making food for my kids while they watch Netflix is not like, that's nice, but it's not, you could have picked some to elicit a little more sympathy. It's like, oh, Mom, could you make more popcorn? Where's the Sunny D? And you're like, God damn it, how many times can we reach Gabby's dollhouse? But it like doesn't really do that. And then it occurs to me, this is the same plot line from Across the Spider-Verse. The same reason he ripped through the multiverse, Kingpin, with the science experimenty thing. But the difference between that plot line, which they don't spend as much time on as they do this, is that plot line is centered in a place that you can understand, and they do it quickly. And yes, I do think the MCU has Spider-Verse and envy. They made 2 movies to try to sort of do the same thing. I'm sure it'll outgross it, but we all know what's going to be the better movie, and we all know what is the better movie, which is Spider-Verse. But anyway, these are cool movies. I like both of them. I like this movie, but it's like the same plot line. And it does feel like Sam Raimi's sort of like, all right, it's fine, this is your MCU thing. Apparently he barely watched WandaVision, and it shows. But that's not what makes this movie cool. This movie is more about the journey than the destination. Like Scarlet Witch, that's not important. Watching Doctor Strange go through the multiverse, have fun with America Chavez, have all the horror elements in this. In fact, when this movie gets into the multiverse, that's my favorite part, but it almost feels like Sam Raimi's doing something that you could even see in a classic film like The Big Sleep, or what Hitchcock would do, which I know is an influence on Sam Raimi, where he would talk about the MacGuffin, where it's like, it's more about the journey. It does not matter what the destination is. It does not matter what's in the suitcase that they're following the entire time. It matters their journey with the suitcase, or to get away with the suitcase, or to find the suitcase. Like, I've seen the 39 steps. I, for a little bit, will remember what the 39 steps are, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's like nobody remembers that. If you do, actually write it in the comments. I'd actually love to know. And don't like search it, like actually show me. This is that movie. Like, he is having fun with Doctor Strange, going on these journeys, going on these adventures. Any battle is like the Sam Raimi I love. You know, this is way more fun than like Oz the Great and Powerful. This is the guy where you watch it and you're like, how the fuck did you make this movie? From Evil Dead, I honestly still watch that movie and go, this movie has so much energy and promise and ambition, and I got that from his direction in this. I also felt like he's one of the few directors who I can tell enjoy reading comic books, and you get that from his Spider-Man movies with the Steve Ditko very influenced thing. This felt like a Marvel comic book where I'd be flipping through to find the pages where the Illuminati's in, and I want to see the Illuminati pages again. That's like something as a kid I would do. I would like certain sequences, and I would like go over them a lot and reread comics that had cool stories, and this felt like one of those. In some places it very much felt like a Doctor Strange comic. I don't think it went, I thought it would go more Ditko, to be honest with you, because it's Sam Raimi. I think, you know, when they're hopping multiverses, I would say sort of, but yeah, probably a lot in that sequence, but not, I don't think the plotline overly is like the other ones. It's more about that. I like the Illuminati stuff. It's interesting, the Inhumans, wow, Marvel. Okay, Marvel loves to bring up like the thing that like nobody gives a shit about, and Inhumans is definitely that. As well as it is interesting to see Professor X with I like the X-Men, the cartoon theme. I'm not sure if that is because they're like, well, it's the multiverse, so we can do that, or because Disney has owned that for longer, and it's just like, we'll just own the Fox stuff, but we don't even want to boost it up. I'm not sure. Either way, it looked cool. It looked a little big on him. I remember they should have made it so he can like sit in it like in the show. It felt like they overdid it with the size, but whatever. And John Krasinski as Reed Richards was fine. I wasn't as blown away. I mean, I get the casting, but you know, if this is the only thing. And I liked Captain Carter and the thing with Captain Marvel. I would have liked a Tony Stark type thing. Everybody's jumping through the multiverse to find people, and nobody thinks to find Tony Stark. I seriously doubt that. I never thought Tom Cruise was going to show up. I would have been fine if it was like Tom Selleck or somebody like that. I thought would have been fun, but whatever. I enjoyed those sequences. I enjoyed a lot of the horror elements. Like, this is a horror director, which is what happened with the last one. You had Scott Derrickson, who left and then was like honestly kind of happy. Sam Raimi's taking it. That's even better than me. So I do think horror directors works for this. This is a very horror influence, you know, horror directors take on these things. If you have a problem with, you know, taking your kids to these things, it's a PG-13 film directed by the guy who made, you know, the Tree Rape movie. Maybe like, you know, understand cinema a little better. But I would also say research these things. I think if they're, you know, below a certain age, you probably should be looking that up anyway. If not, then, you know, you toughen up your kids or something. I don't know. Kids can have nightmares sometimes. It's fine. They can imagine being ripped apart and then their heads exploded. It's like, we'll get over it. Don't worry about it. Chiwetel Ejiofor is barely in this. Like, it's so funny they tease something at the end of this with Mordo. It kind of feels like they thought they were going to make a direct sequel with some MCU elements, and this is much more like post Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home. Like, this is like issue, you know, there's so many crossovers that happen between. This is not really Doctor Strange 2. They don't pretend it is. They sort of at the beginning, but they really are like very much acknowledging what's going on, which I actually kind of liked. I think they realized they couldn't do that storytelling. This did feel like Marvel when I was reading comics a lot, because the continuity would be so thick. Like, my friends in the neighborhood would have to have me explain a ton of stuff, and this sort of feels like that at this point. I only see this getting worse to the point where no one can understand anything. And, you know, people like Screen Crush and Mr. Sunday Movies can just like hopefully catch us all up. But I don't know why we can do this, guys. It's like, you're really pulling out the stops in terms of continuity. But I think what I love about this movie is Sam Raimi having fun, watching a director have fun within a studio. I mean, most of the time, the last time we saw him get crumbled by studio notes, that didn't exactly work out. And I know Marvel had him do a million reshoots and do the Marvel thing and everything. We've seen so many directors who you don't see that flourish that you normally see in their movies, in their Marvel movie. And in this, I felt like I saw a Sam Raimi Marvel movie. In fact, it felt like Sam Raimi was more in control and only had to acknowledge Marvel some of the time or something, like, which I actually sort of liked. I like it when they let them have their own spin on it instead of watching general Marvel movie, 27 or whatever. This movie had much more of a soul and fun to it, which I don't think I've seen a director have as much fun with a Marvel movie in a long time, actually. I really like that, and the surreal, weird elements. I liked how open and crazy this film felt. It just had a unique energy that only Sam Raimi can really bring to these things. And I watched it to see, I didn't want to miss any of the spoilers and everything like that, but I also just wanted to see like a really fun Sam Raimi Doctor Strange movie, and that's really what I got. The horror elements are definitely there. All the things you love about him are there. I think this is probably one of my more favorite Marvel movies, just because it is interested in being a good movie. It's interested in being a good journey, and it's interested in going into all these weird worlds. I mean, there was a paint dimension. I wish we'd gotten to see more of the paint dimension. There's an animation dimension, which they don't talk about. There's also all sorts of cool stuff in this that I just, the dimension stuff was cool. The America Chavez stuff was cool. I really enjoyed this film. I think Sam Raimi plays it like, you have so many directors who work in the MCU, James Gunn, Scott Derrickson, so many are influenced by him, Edgar Wright, and this really felt like a true master play here, and I'm hoping we see more from Sam Raimi, honestly. I'm probably reviewing more of a Sam Raimi movie than I'm reviewing an MCU movie, frankly, and that's a testament to him as a director. I wouldn't mind more Doctor Strange films like this, that is like, here is his adventure, sequential adventure kind of movie, this 2-3 year period, and I quite like that. I would like more superhero movies like this, but also one that a director has come to play, likes this medium, like he helped invent it practically, the cinematic one, and popularize it and break all the barriers for it to happen. Let this dude go off, and we got to see that, and that was a lot of fun. I think I like this. I prefer this to the original Doctor Strange movie. I don't know how my dad feels, although I am aware that he likes it, and it just felt to me like a really fun, weird multiverse film. If I'm gonna rank between the Spider-Man ones and this one, this might be, I don't know, I would say probably be last, but they're all such entertaining, wonderful, kind of cool movies. This is probably the one you should watch, at least with the family, because of all the horror elements and the gore and stuff like that. But it's also Sam Raimi, and I'd much rather see a Sam Raimi movie that doesn't hold back than one that's contained because of the MCU, that's the thing about this. There's so many times where you watch MCU movies and it feels like a director's held back or had to do this sort of thing, and it didn't feel like that most of the time. Even the stuff with Scarlet Witch I didn't like, when she's doing all the weird sorcery stuff, it felt like I'm still watching a movie from the Evil Dead guy, and I just really like that. Maybe there's a lot of moments that I could have done without, but the moments that were there, it's like, could Doctor Strange fight like that? I never heard that before, but I'm going with it. And it's like, he has such a great momentum and an energy to it. There's a lot of shit that, like, if I thought about it for 2 seconds, I wouldn't enjoy it really. But like, in the momentum, I'm like, sure, he can fight now, I guess. Cool, okay, he can fight with Mordo like he's like fucking Bruce Lee, I guess. I sure. It's like, I don't remember doing that before, but let's do it. And like, Sam Raimi and them, they just sell this movie. Also, Bruce Campbell cameo was amazing, and his end credit was maybe one of my more favorites lately. It just shows like Sam Raimi projects fun. Sam Raimi likes making movies, and he likes reading comic books, and that energy could not be taken away from this big corporate movie. And those are the kind of big blockbusters that are always a lot of fun to see. And I think Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had that in its bones in such a way, it almost felt like the corporate entity couldn't rip it out of it and throw it on the ground. They just sort of had to let it happen. So if you've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.